Okay, sorry for that brief delay, everybody. Back to a mobile live stream here, and there's always technical challenges. I think I have them straightened out. I hope we'll be live here. We'll know in a minute. A lot of stuff going on. It's pretty lousy weather here in New York. I'm back at Times Square because, I'll be honest, this is something of a test of the system. And also, let's see, okay, it looks like it might be live. Yeah. Test of the system, and also I had to talk about some of the stuff that's going on because I was real pleased to see that it seems, well, not only does it seem, but the president is tweeting about it, Dominion voting systems is basically at the center of everybody's attention. There's a dangerous moment there right after the election where devious social engineers had inserted a false story, try to deflect away from the facts. I'm talking about Mary Fanning and the hammer and scorecard. That initially took off and was getting a lot of attention. A lot of people had sent that to me. That story is an absolute fabrication. Mary Fanning is a definite social engineer, a deliberate liar. We're way past the point of her possibly being wrong. Mary Fanning, you're a liar. Prove me wrong. You will not. And anytime I've ever asked you to do it, you've refused. I'm trying to just keep this microphone from making too much noise here. I actually had an opportunity to speak to Mary Fanning again this morning. This was great. Let's give a listen to this.
Hello.
Mary?
This is she.
I just wanted to speak to you real quickly about the scorecard and hammer thing. Are you still on that story?
May I ask who I'm speaking to?
It's your favorite guy, Jason Goodman. I think you've been lying to everyone again. Now, of course, she hung up. She didn't want to talk to me. There was nothing I could have said to Mary Fanning that would have made her want to talk to me because I've already proven her to be a liar. When she was initially still trying to fool me, you know, back when Kevin Shipp had first started talking about the hammer, she tried to give me some nonsense excuse, but I think Mary Fanning is only successful at deceiving people for a very short time or deceiving very stupid people. So luckily, we've got smart people around the president, Sidney Powell and others, who might have initially latched on to that hammer and scorecard story because everybody knew something was wrong and we didn't quite know what it was. But definitely now everybody is focused on Dominion voting systems, and that's good because social engineers are going to continue to try to persistently deflect people away from the truth with lies. I want to talk about a couple of ways that they might do that. Now, first of all, it's important for people who maybe don't know or aren't able to access the information. This guy, Trey Traynor, who is the chairman of the Federal Election Committee, he was interviewed by OAN, and van number 33 honking at me. Anyway, I tried to get onto the OAN site to see the interview and read some news about it, and from Google, I clicked on the link and it was taking forever. This video is playing, you know, this is real time, how long it took. It's pretty interesting. You see that? I mean, I guess it's possible that once the president tweeted about OAN, lots and lots of people were going to their website, which would slow it down. But I mean, look at this. You open another page. I want people to see how long it takes for this thing to load. Maybe it's lots and lots of people going there, or maybe it's a DDoS attack on OAN, so people can't see that news. You might have noticed Googling Traynor, FEC chairman, or whatever I had in there, didn't bring up a lot of articles. It's not like people are jumping on this and you know, reporting what the Federal Election Committee chairman is telling us, which is that there does seem to be credible evidence of fraud. This is gaining momentum, everybody. Anybody who is at home feeling sad that Joe Biden has stolen the presidency, do not give up hope. It seems like we are turning a corner here, and we're going to reach a moment where I think a lot of people will realize that we are in the midst of possibly the greatest deception in the history of mankind. Look at this. Look at how long it's taken this thing to load. Let's let that soak in for a second. It's wild. Okay, there it is. So we can see it says, FEC chairman debunks MSM claims of no fraud, says counting illegal votes could make the election illegitimate. Now I know a lot of people are focused on some of the video evidence of people being thrown out. That's important, that's important, and dead people voting, also important, but that feels a little bit to me like kind of onesies, twosies, changing votes here and there. While I'm in Times Square, I do want people to see what's going on. It's cold today, and it may rain at any moment, so there's not really a lot of people around. But the big story is Dominion voting systems, because somebody who controls the election machines, the voting machines, they can be changing votes on a scale of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions. And people who've been watching the president's Twitter feed today have seen what he's tweeting about that. He is indicating that that's happening. There's something else I wanted people to see on the president's Twitter feed. This is unbelievable. I know everybody has seen it, but we got to look at it. So here he's talking about Dominion deleted 2.7 million votes nationwide. He goes into some of the details, and look at that. Twitter tells you this claim about election fraud is in dispute, or whatever they said. And then if you go and look up sleepy, sniffing Joe Biden, and he is saying stupid crap like, oh, you know, congratulations to me for becoming president, I don't see Twitter saying that this is disputed, even though it is. I think a lot of people are disputing Joe Biden and his opinion that he is the president-elect. He's not the president-elect. I know people watching Crowdsource the Truth don't need any more convincing that Twitter, I don't want to use the word bias, that's inaccurate. They are complicit in this theft. And that understates it. This is a coup d'etat. This is a dangerous, violent act. Or maybe it's not violent now, but it could easily lead to violence, what they're attempting to do. Because by gaslighting the entire country, making people think that Joe Biden has become the president, people who want that outcome are going to be very disappointed when the law actually is enforced and everybody learns that Joe Biden is not in fact the president, and that he and all these other people who are tweeting, I'm looking at you, Hillary Clinton, they're part of this. This is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy to overthrow the president of the United States of America. Now, I want to look at a couple of other things with regard to Dominion voting systems. We have to also remember they've got a couple different names that they operate under. They've got the Dominion voting systems, of course, and they've got offices all over the world, all over the country. They're in Canada, a lot of offices around the United States, but they were involved with the Clinton project through that thing, the Delian project, and we've been speaking about that a lot. Remember, Snopes was very careful in how they debunked it, because sometimes people see the thing on the Clinton Foundation page and they just jump to the conclusion that the Clintons own it or something like that. That is not accurate. The Clintons don't own it. It is a separate company that got into a commitment to action with the Clinton Foundation, which is these legally vague, just sort of press releases that the Clinton Foundation puts out. We've looked at that quite a bit, but that Delian project, that's super interesting, because that was where we found those two guys, those Canadian dudes. Well, one of them is definitely Canadian. Here's the Delian project. We saw their website the other day. People need to look through the details of all of these things. Key leadership of the Delian project, people are going to remember, is this Jean-Pierre Kingsley and then John Hollins, right? So Kingsley's the guy who's the Canadian election official who was surprised at the court finding of fraud and then resigned for reasons that remain unclear. Hollins is the dude who's doing all whatever with the elections in Libya. I know Hillary Clinton is really fond of anything that destroys Libya. She was very involved in that, and if you doubt what I'm saying, you should watch Unseen Libya with Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty on Monday nights. But so we've got the Delian project, right? Everybody is focused on Dominion voting, that's important. But what is the Delian project? Where did they get that name? I find the names are always quite interesting. So I wanted to look up the etymology of the word Delian. It's got to do with stuff from Delios, or perhaps the Delian League. This was really interesting. This was basically created around, the Greek times, and city-states got together to form this union. Athens headed it, and they all kind of pooled their money. But shortly after its inception, Athens began to use the League's funds for its own purposes, and that led to conflict. Now, wait a minute, because basically misappropriating funds, that sure sounds like something Hillary Clinton knows a lot about. They've done that. So does this name, are they clowning us or something with that name? Delian Project? There's more. Let's just see if the comments are going. Yeah, good. We're still live. Happy holidays, everybody. What do people think about that? Delian Project, is that a coincidence? Sounds very sneaky to Dan, and I agree. But this is the way social engineers operate. This is essentially like sock puppet accounts on Twitter, but for a company. So they can have the Delian Project, maybe that name escapes this scandal unscathed, Dominion voting, well, maybe they can just duck away from that and say, oh, no, this wasn't Dominion voting, this was the Delian Project. Or, okay, people already know about that, so maybe that's not going to work. Then there was something else. There was something called, I think this is it. Yeah, Premier Election Systems. Well, this sounds like it could be a competitor. Let's not rely on just one company. We want a bunch of different companies. Oh, but wait. In 2010, Dominion Voting Systems purchased the primary assets and all the software and firmware and hardware of this other company, so they own that too. Now, the interesting thing is, somebody sent me a video of a young woman at DEF CON, which is like a hacker conference, where one of these Premier Voting Systems machines was hacked by her in less than 2 minutes. On camera. She just goes right up to the machine. She describes how you can disassemble a portion of it without tools, take a component out without tools, push some buttons, get through some dialog boxes, and basically she had, I think, administrator access to the machine. She could have done whatever she wanted. So, I'm potentially less concerned about keeping Republican, overseers out of the room in terms of counting individual ballots. I'm more concerned about what did they do to the voting machines when that happened. And all these things need to be investigated. It is so disingenuous for anyone to just immediately say there's no evidence, there's no proof of a fraud. That's simply wrong. There are so many elements of evidence. And one of the most disturbing things that's happening right now is that if you go to Drudge Report, if you turn on CNN, if you look at the New York Times, the Washington Post, any of these things, the degree to which what they are telling you is 180 degrees opposite from the truth. I don't know if stunning is the right word to use, because I do believe a lot of people watching Crowdsource the Truth have come to expect that. But we are just in an insane propaganda situation right now with just pure lies going out. So I hope that people will take some of this information and, if you have family members, if you have friends who you're in conversation with, I know it's very easy to get upset, particularly right now, when someone is lying to you and you know they're lying to you, and they're, this is gonna hurt us a lot. We cannot have criminals and thieves just stealing the election and becoming president of the United States. We can't have it. And, Joanne Moriarty raised a very good point about the huge disparity between Twitter followers, Donald Trump having 89 million, Joe Biden 18 million. And some people say, oh, so what? That doesn't mean anything. That's just an anecdotal observation. Again, even if 3/4 of the Twitter followers who are there for Trump, they say they're bots, they say they're whatever. But doesn't Twitter hate Donald Trump? Wouldn't they be doing everything they can to eliminate that and get rid of that? I'm sure some of it slips through the cracks. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on there who hate the president and just want to, post nasty comments or whatever. But again, even if 3/4 of those followers can be accounted for as a bot or a hater, that's still millions more people expressing interest in Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, the guy who did less campaigning than anybody in the history of campaigning. Look at this Fast and Furious. Less campaigning than anybody, less energy than anybody. He's been in there, in government, almost half a century. One of the least accomplished, least well-known. I mean, if Joe Biden, whoop, just lost something there. Let's see if we can get this back. Nobody's impressed by Joe Biden. Nobody is impressed by Joe Biden. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen when Rudy Giuliani and all the president's lawyers dig into this. I mean, the fear is, and I think a lot of people have valid concerns, that it's, we've seen what they did to General Flynn. Even though the law was on his side, talented lawyer Sidney Powell really doing pretty much anything and everything anybody could think of in service of justice, and it seems to be still not getting served over there. But this is different. This is different. The defendant is the President of the United States, and all of his supporters, there's a groundswell happening right now where people are aware. People are aware that this is going on. And this Dominion voting systems thing, we're not going to just let this happen. So share this video. I wouldn't be surprised if Crowdsource the Truth gets struck again. The main Jason Goodman channel just came back online yesterday. So if you've been wondering where I've been for the past week, I've been putting out videos on Crowdsource the Truth too. If you're not subscribed to Crowdsource the Truth too, then check it out on YouTube. This is interesting. Here's another sample sale. Have people seen that sample sale on 5th Avenue that I keep walking by? That's down the block. I mean, obviously this is a different designer, but why is there nobody at all at this one and there's a huge line at that other one every time I go by it? It's just strange. So, yeah, we got that phone call with Mary Fanning. Right, the main channel. Back online. If you were wondering where I was, subscribe to Crowdsource the Truth 2, the backup channel. Also, check out banned.video, BANNED.video. That's the InfoWars alternative to YouTube, and Crowdsource the Truth has a channel on there now. InfoWars right now has put together a caravan of vehicles that's on its way to Washington, D.C. They're driving from Texas, from Austin, and stopping in the capitals of all the cities that they're going through on the way there. Owen Schroyer is leading that caravan, and I believe Alex Jones is going to meet them all there in D.C. Here's Madison. That looks closed down there. Let's go this way. 45th. So yeah, people who are in D.C. or nearby, Saturday, I think, is going to be the day. I'd like to go, but I am actually becoming increasingly concerned about these threats from de Blasio and Cuomo of locking down again. See, we're hearing there's this tandem scheme going on with lockdowns and more cases. I am seeing a lot of ambulances driving around today. I don't know what that really means. More businesses closing. And right, so threats from the mayor and the governor to possibly re-lock down the city. And my concern is if I go to Washington, D.C. and I can't come back, or I can't come back without getting a coronavirus Q-tip shoved up my nose, poking my brain and causing cerebral brain fluid, cerebral spinal fluid to leak out, I don't want to get involved in that. I'm trying to prevent this thing from making all the scratching noises and bouncing around. It's always a trick. Right. So I'm going to try something interesting here today that may or may not fly. Good time to... Right, yeah, it's whip. It's hard to block while I'm walking and talking, and I think band.video, BitChute, yep, BitChute is good. Still keeping sane in New York City, yes. People want me to get the hell out of New York. I mean, I hear you guys, but I live here. This is my home. I don't want to leave. I want it to get back to normal so that I can live here and, go about my business and have my friends and restaurants and places to go and things to do and all that. I don't want to just escape and turn over this city to, Marxist maniacs and abandon the place. That's not how it can go. But I noticed that Hillary Clinton is tweeting a lot. It's amazing that Joe Biden's tweets aren't being met with the same type of warnings about stating disputed things. Because, I mean, whose dispute are they telling you about? Who somebody disputes, I'm like fenced in over here. Somebody disputes what Trump says. I guess we know, it's no surprise. We know what side Twitter is on. They're on the communist side. So people are going to Parler. You can also find Crowdsource the Truth on Parler, at CS the Truth on there. Well, I mean, I guess we're going into Grand Central. It's always nice when people spit on the street in the middle of a pandemic. Now, here we go. Maybe I can make it this way. Yeah, and the best way to stay on top of all the live streams and all the videos for Crowdsource the Truth is to become a sponsor. You can do that on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. So I haven't been talking about this because, there's strategic reasons sometimes to not discuss things about lawsuits because then the opponent hears them. But yes, it's true. Robert David Steele has refiled his idiotic fake lawsuit. The guy will not give up. He's another social engineer. And he's another liar. Oh, another cause of action for Robert David Steele to try to sue me again. Wrong. Because the truth is a defense. It's a defense against defamation. When you lie and I call you a liar, you can't sue me for that. So anyway, I've submitted my motion to dismiss Robert David Steele's refiled fake lawsuit, and people will be able to read that on Pacer in a couple of days. It's got to be sent to the courthouse, and all this stuff takes a ton of time, costs a ton of money, and I want to thank the sponsors of Crowdsource the Truth who have allowed me to continue broadcasting and be able to stay financially viable during the more than 3 years this pathetic guy has been suing me. And I want to get back to the Deep Inside Robert David Steele's Anti-Speech Strategy series. I'm still working on the server. All the Crowdsource the Truth sponsor exclusive videos got temporarily taken offline by Vimeo zapping the channel when Mike Moore and I revealed first the Falcon story. No, right. The Falcon story got the Vimeo channel zapped. Whoa. And then Mike's tweet about cheating in Pennsylvania got his Twitter zapped. So a lot of cops over here again. People saw me and Charles here under that thing maybe a week ago or something. They were getting ready for some kind of riot over there. We got more of these special response group police here. What do they got? Oh, it's a card table or something. They're getting ready to smack somebody with that. But yeah, Robert David Steele's refiled lawsuit, I have a feeling is going to get dismissed quickly. And that won't be the last we hear from him. I'm not going to go into too many details about that just yet. I think it was a pretty solid motion to dismiss. And I know much more about this type of stuff than I did 3 years ago. That's not to say that I'm a lawyer, certainly not. And it's still quite a challenge to prepare all this legal stuff. Bolton's out of business. I don't even know what that was. I guess clothing store. But this is Grand Central Station here. And the terrible decline of New York City continues. while Joe Biden is gaslighting the world and lying to people, telling them that he's the president-elect, which he's not. You don't see that every day. The city continues its precipitous decline into economic ruin. Okay, so I'm here at my spot. This is the Chrysler Building. It's one of my favorite buildings in New York. Now, this has a high probability of failure because you can't really go into the Chrysler Building, like there's no observation deck or anything. And I think if you don't have an office in there or some business in there, they may be reluctant to let me in. So let's see if we can make this work. Reimagining the most legendary skyscraper in the world. Inspired improvements in development. New retail arcade, full floor of tenant amenities. Huh. Well, is that retail arcade open yet? Probably not. Seems like bad timing for something like that, but let's see if we can get in here. Oh yeah, wait a minute. This will be interesting if this works. Want to get up to 18 to Dominion voting?
Not here.
Not here?
No.
When did they leave?
No, I don't know who that is. That's
Never heard of Dominion voting?
no
Open Corporate says they have an office on the 18th floor.
Not that I know of.
What about Delian? You ever heard of that?
Are you recording? Are you recording?
Yeah.
No recording allowed in the lobby.
Okay.
This is the Chrysler.
Okay. All right. No recording allowed in the lobby. All right. So they're not here. Open Corporate says they are. And they could be here under another name. But that was worth a try. All right. I can't say I'm surprised by that. So we'll just continue a bit of a walk around here. Retail space available. People remember when I was in London, I walked in on, what's that idiot's name? Christopher Steele. Walked into his office, trying it again here, and it didn't work. Well, people say it's probably a virtual office. I mean, it could be anything. It could be, right, somebody else's office that they just claim to use, but Open Corporates says their New York office is there. Oh, wow, it's starting to rain. Okay, so let's see. Might have to end this pretty soon. Got an umbrella. So, okay, now I definitely can't check comments because I've got all hands filled between umbrella, stabilizer, etc. But, you know, even a rainy day is potentially a nice change from the, you know, just change it up a little bit. Well, you know what? Maybe, why don't we go check and see if the flags are up? I'm all the way on the east side here. We can check the United Nations. You know, every time I went over there, they had another reason why the flags weren't up. Looking at that sort of definition of Delian and the Delian League, it's kind of like the UN, right? They said, hey, let's all get together, pool our resources and help each other. And then, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to take the money and do whatever we want with it. That is super Clinton-esque, and perhaps it's what the Delian Project is up to as well. Delian League, Delian Project, premier election solutions. This is why I get annoyed with these people who use fake names, fake Twitter accounts, fake YouTube accounts. I mean, fine, go ahead and do it. But if you want to make comments, if you want to participate in the debate, you need to use your real name. I get a lot of people with fake names sending me nonsense, and they feel like, I have some obligation to interact with them, or I need to answer their questions, or they have a right to free speech to come onto my YouTube channel or my Patreon page or my wherever and, spout off whatever story, whatever nonsense they have. How's business been? How's it been?
Okay, really slow.
Are you worried about what's going to happen when it gets colder?
Yeah, I am.
How long have you been working here?
Like 4 years now. Yeah, but I'm also studying. So
What are you studying?
I'm doing speech pathology.
Anthropology?
No, speech pathology.
Speech pathology.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Take care. Yeah, people have got to be worried about their jobs. I mean, she's working hard here at the restaurant, but oh man, even inside it's pretty empty. And I'm sure that woman doesn't make that much money if there's not tips. And I mean, just think about that for a second. Like somebody who planned on coming to New York and being a speech pathology student and paying for the classes and everything by being a waitress. Well, if you're doing that last year, even if you're lucky enough to still have that job at a restaurant that still remains open, the tyrants in Albany and downtown in Gracie Mansion or whatever, City Hall, they're saying, no, you can only have 25% of the business, even if it maximizes. That's 1/4. I don't think they told the colleges you can only charge 25% of the tuition, did they? I think that's a no. All right, let's see if I can get comments. Okay, now I got the umbrella and the stabilizer in one hand. Bar is useless, Jeff says. Yes, I agree with that. We'd like to see the president do something. Do people here not like Barr? Tough stuff. We don't like Barr because William Barr was George H.W. Bush's attorney general during Iran-Contra, and he was the CIA's outside counsel. He was a lawyer for the CIA. And I think there's probably good reason to believe that he still is that, and that he's covering for crimes of the Bushes, the Clintons. He's putting on a good show, perhaps for the president or for the president's supporters, or, maybe there's something going on that we don't know. There's the occasional troll who tells me all the things that I know. People who don't know me tell me what I know about the president. Look, I don't think Donald Trump is perfect, but I think that everybody in the government who hates him hate him because he is trying to drain the swamp. And I don't think they'd be fighting him so hard if that wasn't the case. If he was all part of this and everything, why wouldn't they just let him stay? And likewise, if Joe Biden's victory were legitimate, why wouldn't he say, hey, there's no problem, you can check for all the fraud you want, because there was none. They're not saying that. They're saying, come on, man. You know the thing. It's the thing. No fraud. That's embarrassing. It's so ridiculous what they're doing right now. It's shameful what they're doing right now. This is going to go down in history as one of the... it still could go the other way. They could just cheat this all the way to the end. That cannot happen, though. We cannot let that happen. Now, where am I relative to the UN here? I think it's down, I'm on 41st. Can't remember exactly where it is. I think it's, it's right down there. So yeah, we don't like William Barr because he also hasn't done anything to lock up the Clintons. He hasn't done anything to lock up James Comey. He hasn't done anything to lock up Andrew McCabe. He hasn't done anything to lock up Peter Strzok. He's just approved of declassifications, and he's been appalled at the death of Jeffrey Epstein. He's done nothing. He has done nothing, and it's been at a time when doing nothing is tantamount to helping the criminals. So, I mean, frankly, I'm disappointed in the president for allowing that to go on for so long. I don't know why he's not firing William Barr. You know? First, everybody wanted you to trust Sessions. They wanted you to trust the plan. These sealed, hidden indictments, whatever. That was all nonsense. Nothing has happened with that. And we are now, days away from like oblivion. Barr's got to go. I don't mean to pound on that commenter who was questioning if people here dislike Barr. I can't speak for people, but it does seem like a lot of viewers of Crowdsource the Truth are aware that William Barr is doing nothing. Why didn't he arrest Hunter Biden? Why didn't he indict him? I want to know, what does that guy do day to day? He's like sitting around ordering Kentucky Fried Chicken or something? All right, back to comments here. Let's see if we can. It's very difficult to walk, hold the umbrella and the stabilizer and the comments at the same time. Ray is bad as well. That's right. Dinah. Yeah, Fred Edward, exactly. Unknown anonymous entities say you should trust Barr. Well, you see, that's just it. That's the disinfo. That's exactly like what Mary Fanning was doing, right? This is my opinion based on information I know about Mary Fanning and the other people involved. Where am I here? I'm way out of whack as far as trying to get to the UN. So, the election ended. And obviously Trump supporters were incredulous at the notion that Joe Biden could get anywhere near as many votes as President Donald Trump. I think I mentioned on air the story about somebody in my family who contacted me and said, that person really, really, really dislikes the president, but their job, their health insurance, their family's health insurance, their whole economic situation had been so dramatically improved. I'm way out of whack here. I'm like, that's the FDR Drive over there. Let's just make sure I check exactly where the UN is. But despite the personal feelings this family member of mine had about Donald Trump, he couldn't deny that his whole situation had improved under Donald Trump. And he was starting to realize that perhaps some of the things he's hearing on the news are not true. And I mean, there's this confusion, people know what we're talking about. See, not having your hands available. It's so difficult to operate these touch screens. And there goes that thing. And now I just lost the map. Somebody in the comments just tell me, the UN is on what, 41st, 40th? Anyway. So I said to myself, if this person in my family is feeling this way, there's got to be a lot of people around the United States who are feeling the same way. Biden's middle name is Robinette. Robinette, exactly. But that came from somebody whose last name in his family was Robinette, and they all do that, like name each other after their... Trump talked differently, but he gave us the lockdowns. It did nothing for us. I don't know that he gave us the lockdowns. I mean, there's definitely a struggle going on. Look, I'm not defending everything the president has done. I certainly would have done things differently. I'm definitely disappointed that he didn't stand up to Fauci. But, I mean, look at the political climate. He's had so much opposition. All these people who are saying, oh, yeah, Joe Biden's the president, they would not have listened to Donald Trump. And they kind of got him in checkmate, because if he had said, oh, forget it, go to work, and then people got sick and died from COVID and comorbidities related to COVID with influenza, pneumonia, they would have blamed all of that on Trump. And it would have been bad. So it's not so easy, that's the thing. That's like, we know what's right and we know what the law is, but what Joe Biden and his criminal co-conspirators are trying to do is they're trying to put together a political situation where Trump just leaves. They want him to concede. That's why he goes on the news and says it's embarrassing. That's why idiots like Sacha Baron Cohen, who should be deported, are there saying, oh yeah, you know, Rudy Giuliani did this and Trump did that. Like, why does anybody care what that guy says? All right, so it's further up. It's on 43rd. And where am I? 40th. Okay, good. So now we're back on track. So I don't think it's that easy to just say Trump gave us the lockdowns. He's not the king. He can't do whatever he wants. He's got to kind of comply with some of these other bozos there. Yeah, people have it there. 405 42nd. Gosh, I need a stabilizer with an umbrella in it. Let me see if I can straighten this thing out here. Okay. These are very prone to breaking, these stabilizers, particularly when Black Lives Matter whacks them. So they've got more lawsuits going. They've got more evidence coming about. But it's a good thing that the president can put this information out on Twitter. It's just naked how Twitter is, putting all these comments all over President Trump's tweets. Nothing on Biden's tweets. I'm disappointed in our fellow Americans who can't see the obvious nature of this stuff. People who are unfamiliar with New York are going to say, what is going on with all the scaffoldings? I mean, there is a lot of construction here, I must admit. It's kind of a mess. And in a crappy rainy day like this. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now I'm getting to the... It's sometimes hard to remember where every little thing in the city is. Oh, that woman really backed off when she saw me without a mask. She's afraid. She's got her kid wrapped in saran wrap. What could possibly go wrong? I'm not surprised that it didn't get up into the Chrysler building, but people could go to Open Corporates. You could look up Dominion Voting. That's the address it gives for their company. I mean, I couldn't find really any other address for it. That dude, security guy, didn't know anything about them. I guess they could be operating under a different name. They're just very sneaky. And so that's what I was talking about, is that people like to use, multiple different Twitter handles and multiple different YouTube accounts to try to troll. It's amazing to me that people have time to do that. The people that have been trolling me have spent literally years of their lives on it. It would be interesting to know what the hell is wrong with them. It would also be interesting to know what the hell is wrong with this stabilizer. Okay. Has the rain stopped? I can put down the umbrella. This is one of these $3 New York umbrellas, although maybe they're more now. I haven't bought one in a while. Okay, we're approaching the UN. 1.1K viewers, thank you. Majority of people are still asleep. Carl, you're right. That's why we got to do these. Military-industrial complex versus Trump. I think it's the technocratic media and intelligence complex against Trump. Like, all these guys that are... Dominion is likely a company working space, a co-working space. It wouldn't be listed as a tenant. That's possible, DL Vox. But Open Corporates has them there. I mean, are they in the office? Do they have a phone number? Can people call them? I mean, they're not going to say anything to us on the phone. It's like that Mary Fanning phone call. She's not going to come out and explain to me how she's lying. If people want to go back and listen to some of the previous Mary Fanning phone calls, what was it that she was saying to me about the hammer? She said it was she said something that made no sense. And also, Mary Fanning is not a technical writer. She is not someone who even... She's not someone who even possesses the knowledge or skills to be able to write about a topic like this, because I doubt Mary Fanning could program the clock on a VHS machine, let alone tell us anything about hacking and supercomputers. By the way, when they told us about it and described it as a supercomputer, when we went into more detail with Mike Zullo, who I have lots of reasons to doubt as well, the pictures that he showed and the things that they spoke about, it just had a server like a rack mount server farm in his garage. And so that's a supercomputer, and also it was like 10 years ago. So I think it's pretty outdated. I mean, I can already see from here, the UN flags are still down. Let's get the latest live from the UN idiots. Oh, I think they can arrest me if I stand on that sidewalk over there. That's UN property. But we'll just ask them. I don't think they can arrest you for asking stuff. Maybe they can. Single-use plastic. Fantastic, no more. So, I mean, every day I've been by here, none of the flags have been up. How come all the flags are down?
The Prime Minister of Bahrain passed away.
Prime Minister of Bahrain passed away?
Yes.
Do you know the last time I was here, when did that happen?
Either last night or this morning.
So every time somebody passes away, all the flags come down?
It's that big blue flag in the middle. It's half past. And these flags are up.
Okay. All right, thanks. Where is that big blue flag in the middle? Oh yeah, there it is. So there's always somebody dying and these flags come down. Bahrain. Are people going to fact check that? Did the Prime Minister of Bahrain die? They should eradicate this place. I'm disgusted by the UN. This is the Delian, council or whatever that thing that they were talking about with Athens, where, they claim they're going to do something good, but they're actually going to just fulfill their own agenda. We got to have second term of Donald Trump so he can just really put the hammer down. Fire Barr, throw the Clintons in jail. I mean, this is great. This is like a fresh news scandal. We don't need to worry about the statute of limitations. We could throw them in jail for election tampering, conspiracy to do whatever. Wow, this is a mess. There's trash all over. That's the Ralph Bunche Park. I don't know who that is. Oops, didn't realize that was still up. I don't know, do people believe that UN security guard, that the Bahrain Prime Minister died? It's a nest of vipers, I agree. The lockdown in New York City is terrible to imagine, but they could be outfitting buildings to demolish them like the towers. Well, that's a bit of a leap. I mean, I don't know that the lockdown necessarily means that they're going to do that. Yeah, the New World Order is what they want. Roof American tells us the UN is on land donated by the Rockefellers. Yeah, we know that. Thunder Rolls Media says defund the UN. I agree. Who died? The Prime Minister of Bahrain. Yeah, get out of the UN, West Texas says, and defund the UN. I agree. I hear a helicopter somewhere in the background. What do people think of this sculpture? Monolithic. This is just people walking outside the UN. Well, there we go, Ralph Bunche Park. And it's got these stairs here. Have we been up these stairs on the live stream before? I don't know if people are aware of this. There's all these little nooks in New York City that are kind of interesting. And while we contemplate the salvation of our country, it's, kind of interesting to see this stuff. There's no regular show on Thursday anymore. Used to have Dr. Corsi and Kevin Shipp, but those shows are done. And I like to leave it open for special guests, but scheduling is hard. Here's the news. Those guys look like news guys over there. Is something newsworthy about to happen, fellas? Yeah? All right. Gotta get your camo delivery gear. So we're in Tudor City up here. This is kind of a fancy place, like all the UN pukes, as Charles would call them. Probably live around here, hang out in this park. It's a nice little park. It's fall in New York City. Nice time of year. I mean, all these restaurants are just totally out. So Razor Queen says, even though Bahrain Prime Minister passed, why have the flags been gone for months? Yeah, I know. That was the question that I had. But I think the bottom line is when you're dealing with those types of people, you know, security guards and cops and people who definitely, you know, social engineers like Mary Fanning who lie, you're not going to get a died, age 84, confirmed, yeah. You're not going to get a straight answer from these people. So that's true. I mean, you know, all right, so the guy died. It seems like it might be less common for the flags to be up than down. Roberto Ross says, F Bill Gates. Yeah, it's a good comment. I like that. You got to wear a face mask to play on the playground, even though it's outside. Little kids. And look, there's none. That's really sad to me. British secret agents always brag how they control the UN and IMF and the World Bank. That's not good. And this stabilizer keeps losing its stability here. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think British secret agents control a lot of things, and I have a feeling Sacha Baron Cohen might be one. I don't trust that guy at all. I don't find him funny. And my personal recommendation for people to consider or reject if they don't like it, don't watch any Sacha Baron Cohen stuff. Definitely, I don't know if you really, don't download it, don't buy it. Don't look at it on Amazon Prime where he's getting money for ads or whatever. He had something on his stupid Twitter account today about that actress who entrapped Rudy Giuliani in a hotel room by enticing him there under the fraudulent premise of a legitimate interview, and then touching him and speaking to him in a way that, you know, an attractive 24 or 25-year-old woman could pretty easily seduce an older man. Wow. And then they say, oh, look, he's doing this, he's doing that. Sacha Baron Cohen is a disgusting guy. This is really cool. I was not aware of this. People can see that sort of indoor garden. What is this place? The Ford Foundation. They got a B. I got to admit, I don't know much about the Ford Foundation, but that was it. Here, you can see from down here. Ford Foundation Gallery. It is kind of fun and interesting to go on these random adventures around New York City. But without somebody walking with me, I sometimes lose my train of thought as far as what I was just talking about. Comments will remember, I think. Yeah, Bahrain guy died, we know. Sacha Baron Cohen is a moron, but he's worse than a moron. I think he's complicit in this scheme to steal the to steal the presidency, and I think he should be deported. Do people know if Sacha Baron Cohen is a U.S. citizen, or is he just a British visitor with a work visa? Because he should be deported. He's a scumbag. He should be thrown in jail. Oh yeah, and so that actress who played, the fraudster who entrapped Giuliani, she's been nominated for an Oscar for that stupid movie. I mean, that is ridiculous. That film is definitely not Oscar material. It's like more like a high school prank, if anything. So I don't get how that becomes Oscar nomination style stuff. Al Jazeera says Bahrain Prime Minister died yesterday. Right. So how long do they keep all those flags down? And also, how many countries do we have? And is probably somebody dying every day. So are they going to keep the flags down always? James says Trump is a patriot. He didn't need to do this. Trump doesn't get paid. I mean, I agree. I think that despite being imperfect like each of us, I do believe that Donald Trump is trying his best, and I think he's been a really good president. He's exposed the corruption of the press, which is now in like full swing. Like even those of us who were aware that the news was fake, you still got to be pretty surprised by the degree to which Twitter is just censoring. I mean, I'll be surprised if the YouTube channel, the Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channels stay on for more than a week. They're not totally purging me because I haven't been talking about letters of the alphabet that relate to social engineering movements. I think that's why. But what they're doing is they keep just like striking it a little bit like the 1,000 paper cuts, death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of treatment. Because they know that when people can't watch Crowdsource the Truth on YouTube, less people know about patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, the sponsor exclusive shows. They also know that if I don't have the reach of the Jason Goodman YouTube channel, I can't tell people about crowdsourcethetruth.com, where people can go and find out about the Counter Lawfare Fund. People who've contributed to the Counter Lawfare Fund are getting gift subscriptions to Subscribestar, and they're also really helping me fight some of these malicious lawsuits. I'm still engaged in several lawsuits. We've got the Emmys lawsuit, which is the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences versus Multimedia System Design, my corporation. They sued that corporation because they knew, pro se, I would beat them and embarrass them. Here's a dog wearing shoes and a raincoat. I really do like funny little dogs wearing funny clothing, and a dog wearing shoes is about as funny as it gets. Well, could have a Halloween costume. That would be one step beyond. Oh, and there goes the stabilizer again. Somebody accused me the other day of causing the broadcast to fail. I did not do that. And as a matter of fact, if you watch it back, when it's re-uploaded, it took me 2 or 3 minutes to even notice that it had cut, because I'm not always looking at this controller screen. And I also couldn't do that. There's no way for me to cut the broadcast and have it continue recording. I either hit stop and it stops, or I lose connection to the cellular network and it cuts out and it continues recording. So all these people that accuse me of stuff, I get really upset because I've been accused of a lot of things. Basically, none of them have been true. I haven't done them. And getting falsely accused, see, that's part of the reason why I'm really growing to hate Joe Biden, because he's up there lying right to you. It should be no surprise. I mean, this is a guy who's basically abused his drug-addled son to receive money. He lied to everybody. Well, I mean, I guess technically he was being honest when he said he never took any money from a foreign country. He had them give it to his son, and then he got it from his son. So his son is not a foreign country. But speaking of William Barr, why don't they do something? Like, why don't they indict Hunter Biden and start a trial? What are they waiting for? Everybody knows the FBI had that laptop for over a year and did nothing. This is terrible. This is terrible. You know, de Blasio, he made an announcement that now restaurants and bars have to close at 10 o'clock. I know people are going to say, that doesn't sound like such a big deal. They're robbing the identity of New York, you know. One of the things that really bugged me about LA was that restaurants closed at 10 o'clock. And then what that did was actually they would close their kitchens at 9:30. And if you're working late or something, you could very quickly get yourself into a situation where there's nothing to eat. And in New York, part of the nightlife is that restaurants stay open late. There were places 12, 1, like nice places that stay open until 1 o'clock in the morning. And also, if you're a business owner and that's the clientele you want to cater to, people who are working it late or night owls or people who work second shifts or whatever, and then come out and have a nice dinner out. No, you can't do that anymore. You got to stay home and put on a mask and not be able to go to school, not do any of that stuff. People getting ready for Christmas. What is this? This is the Romanian Cultural Institute. All right. A lot of graffiti over here. It's a bad weather day, folks. So that thing said you don't have to reveal your identity to solve violent crimes. That's different because you're dealing with the cops, and if you're afraid of retribution, that makes sense. There are situations where you want to be anonymous. What's everybody waiting for? Oh, coronavirus tests, huh? Do you guys have to get tests for work, or people want tests? You need to get a test?
Yeah.
For work?
No.
Uh-huh. So people want the tests. Okay. Oh, no bathroom in there due to coronavirus. There's a place for lease. Boarded up. Clinton White House was called the whorehouse. I don't doubt it. Yeah, I don't understand those people standing up to voluntarily do that. I heard that story about that woman having the Q-tip puncture. I forget what the term was, but it caused cerebral spinal fluid to leak out of her nose. That sounds like an extremely bad injury that you would want to do everything possible to avoid. Why don't all those people go for, a cancer screening or get checked for congestive, risks of congestive heart failure? There's so many things that you're more likely to die from than coronavirus, but yet people are lining up to take that test. Getting paid? Someone suggests that the people are getting paid in the comments. Oh, DNA sample. That's a good idea. Yeah, exactly. I mean, someone suggests that those people could be getting DNA samples taken from them. I mean, maybe that's against their not, or, maybe they don't know. I don't have any evidence that they're getting paid. I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. I think it's likely that a lot of people are getting that test because they've been made so nervous by the news. They're socially engineered. When you listen to John Cullen Investigates on Fridays, he goes through the numbers and analyzes it in a way that's a lot more level-headed and might not be as inclined to cause people to run out and get coronavirus tested. Yeah, if they were telling us, in addition to the number of new cases, the fact that the fatal outcomes are declining, maybe people wouldn't be afraid. And I'm not telling people to make decisions based on what I say. Consult your doctor. That's a skinny building. I can't quite recognize that flag. You know, I should go visit the Council on Foreign Relations. Is this it? Something is telling me I recognize this building. 36th and Lex, is this the CFR right here? They're definitely not going to let me in just walking in with a camera, to the extent that that's not even worth trying. Nah, I don't think this is it. I don't remember where the Council on Foreign Relations is. But all of those type of things, they got to go. This is somebody's embassy for some... Oh, 133. I don't know, do people recognize this flag? It says something in the United... I didn't really read what that says. Do people see that? Mission Permanente Chad, the African nation of Chad. Yeah, so these are all sort of like UN style. I don't know what they got going on here. Vote like your life depends on it. Joe Biden could put a sign there that says cheat like your life depends on it. And people have to keep in mind that that is why this is being done. That is why Hillary Clinton is tweeting about this. She knows she's in a lot of trouble if Donald Trump stays in there, and he's got to. I'm pretty anxious to see what happens with all this evidence that's coming up. Back to the comments. Yeah, Embassy of Chad or whatever that is. What's happening, RG? Got a friend of mine watching who is laughing about Chad. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I had to say. I wanted people to see those links to Dominion Voting and the Delian Project and Premier Election Solutions. I wouldn't at all be surprised if there are more, you know, kind of fake names or alternate names that are essentially the same company doing the same thing under the guise of a different brand to, because like imagine if you want to sell your voting system to Texas and the Secretary of State of the state of Texas says, okay, we're going to hire this PhD in computer science to evaluate your thing. And the PhD comes back and says, well, you know, this thing is using consumer off-the-shelf technology, and that means there's USB ports, that means there's Microsoft SQL servers, there's Android tablets, things that can be exploited. So an exploit in terms of hacking is a weakness, something that a hacker can use to penetrate the system. And by the way, do people recall who the ethical hacker is? George Webb's brother, all these guys who claim that they aren't working towards the same purpose, which is to sue me and shut me down. It's weird that they all know each other. They all try to intervene. George's brother tried to intervene in this new stupid Robert David Steele lawsuit. It's not even really new. It's the same thing, just resubmitted, which is exactly what the judge told him not to do, and he went and did it. And, by the way, George's brother, who thinks he's a legal expert, he was denied intervening. So all these threats he puts out on his hidden YouTube channel, of now he's going to do something with the CNN lawsuit with George. This is all crap that they made up, right? 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, George said to me that there was going to be a big disaster and that he had all this information about it and that I had to do something. And that was, you know, their scheme to try to get me in trouble. And when it didn't work, they shifted gears to suing me. George's brother has said he's going to sue me for the rest of his life. What's the judge going to think about that? What's the court going to think about that? I don't know. It's not going to happen. It's going to try, but anyway, the key is, you know, when these guys, if you're on board with them, then, you know, that's cool. But if you want to help me, every time they try and sue me, and every time you see a social engineer making a chat comment or saying something dumb, become a sponsor of Crowdsource the Truth. Or email a friend and recommend that they go to subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth or patreon.com/crowdsource the truth and become a sponsor. This is bad. It's restaurants and businesses going out. Tiberius. Holy crepe. That's what that says. And the stabilizer just won't keep it together here. So, just a real rainy, foul weather kind of day. A lot of people have been reviewing the lawsuits that Rudy Giuliani has submitted. I think Pennsylvania, Michigan, this is widespread voter fraud, like hundreds of thousands of votes being altered. It's an attack on our country. It's an attack on us as individuals. Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, they think they can run this world by just doing whatever they want. Criminal schemes, complicated ones. Mike Moore said it on Tuesday's More Pain show. You can't get the mail-in voting fraud scheme without the coronavirus lockdown stay at home. So they're sort of interconnected. It's really windy and rainy and cold. Okay, I'm here at the Empire State Building. I don't know if I can see the top of it without getting rain on the camera. Whoop! Oh! You know, when the umbrella flips around, you're in trouble. There is a short shelf life for umbrellas in New York City. I'm hoping for this magical moment where Donald Trump reveals prima facie evidence of the most staggering election fraud anybody has ever conceived of, and hopefully that opens the eyes of the socially engineered people of America, and I seriously do hope that it makes everybody smarter and more discerning. I don't have some desire to be like, you know, in the know and part of some elite group. You know, people talk about, oh, you gotta wake up the normies. I'd like it if everybody was engaging in critical thinking and questioning what the news was telling them. And I'm a little bit, you know, I don't understand people who are surprised to learn that Fox News is lying. Oh, wait a minute. They took the wood down from the Empire State Building. Well, I mean, that looks a lot better, but that might have been premature from their standpoint. I don't know that we necessarily have good reason to believe that there's not going to be rioting and craziness. I'll have to do another show pretty soon where I go to the top of the Empire State Building. Now, so here's the interesting thing. There's a couple of new businesses that are opening around. We can focus on that for a minute. This pizza place is one of them. That opened since the pandemic. But it doesn't look like there's a lot of people eating pizza in there. Very few, as a matter of fact. Walgreens took their wood down. I guess that's a function of the Empire State Building taking it down. And I just want to get a little bit below 34th here because it disconnects the broadcast over there on 7th Avenue. But there's a place for rent over there. There were a couple new places coming in on 7th Avenue. A pizza place, a hamburger place. It's hard for me to imagine that someone would think that right now is a business opportunity for a restaurant. Although I don't know if pizza places and hamburger places count. Let's see how these restaurants are doing. I mean, these just basically moved their restaurant outside and put everybody in a tent. Yeah, empty. Because nobody wants to be sitting outside in the rain. I think a lot of people don't even want to go to a restaurant and be inside when the weather is this bad. You basically just want to stay home and be warm. I don't know how much longer these places are going to be able to do it. That place is totally empty. Totally empty. Hey. Totally empty. This place is doing all right. Smells good. So this is just like, welcome to the virus hotbox. I don't understand. The thing that just occurred to me is that I was about to step out into the street and cross the street, which admittedly you're not supposed to do, but I sort of do all the time. And with these tents up, that's a really good parallel parking job. How did that woman do that? With these tents up, you can't see cars coming, and if you step out on the street, you could get hit. A lot less business activity over here than usual.
I will try to.
It's getting colder. So we'll just real quick head over here and see what's going on with some of those new places. I mean, at this point, we've been locked down for, I guess, almost 8 months. You would think that any business opening now would have had to come up with that idea during the pandemic. This just seems like a terrible idea. It is daunting to think about the number of people that are so convinced that Joe Biden is president-elect, they don't even want to see evidence. I can't help but see parallels between the lies told by Joe Biden, the persistence in, just sort of forcing those lies on people, the number of dumb schemes along the lines of, Mary Fanning with the hammer and the scorecard. I mean, go back and listen to some of that reporting. Even General McInerney, like what they're explaining is so stupid and simplistic, it can't possibly be true. I mean, they're saying that this guy, he's the greatest hacker in America and he invented a supercomputer and he can, the votes get stored at some electronic warehouse and this thing is such a powerful computer that it can flip the votes so fast no one can even detect it. I mean, really? Does that even make sense on any level? That is not a plausible explanation in my opinion. And anybody who was pushing that needs to retract it and reconsider what the hell were they thinking about. And in the case of Mary Fanning, she should call me back and explain why she keeps supporting this story from such a dubious source and why she supports it so adamantly. And, Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, shame on those guys. I've lost all respect for Bill Binney. Emails from Bill Binney to Robert David Steele came out during the course of the Steele v. Goodman, and Bill Binney has lied to me. I knew that before the trial, but I didn't want to talk about it because I know people like Bill Binney. He's a kind man. He seems like a good guy. He's a liar. I don't know why. Maybe somebody's forcing him to lie, but whatever it is, he's definitely a liar. You can call me too, Bill Binney, if that's something you want to set me straight on, but I know you won't.
All right, it's so light, come up and grab it. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Almost done with this live stream, getting close to home. I think the rain is letting up. That's good. So let's get back to just a quick check of the comments. Thanks for sticking with me, everybody. Biden will make selling out America. Biden's already made money selling out America. What he's trying to do now is he's trying to prevent himself from going to jail. He's trying to prevent his son from going to jail. And he's trying to prevent Donald Trump from unraveling this entire decades-long scheme. Kay Deco says, what do I think of Tori Says News? I think she's a liar. I think she's a social engineer. I think she set up Millie Weaver. I think Patrick Berge is definitely a liar and a social engineer. It certainly seems like he got money from George Webb. I don't trust him. Also, Patrick Berge was putting out tweets saying that I recorded him without him knowing it. But what he didn't tell you is he knew he was being recorded. I called him again after that phone call and recorded that as well. I just haven't put it out yet. I have a lot of recorded phone calls that I haven't put out because some of them are with people who just aren't that interesting. Look at that, boxing, that's cool. The Sweet Science. I don't know why they call it that, but it's a cool name. And I do like boxing. I can't say that I've ever done it, but I like watching it. And I appreciate it as a sport. Yeah, people would be shocked, I think, to know how many social engineers are around. I was shocked. I, trust all these people, and then they turn out to be sketchy liars. It's out of business. Verizon's doing good business. Right, okay, so here we are, 7th Avenue. Let's see some of these places that have opened. Well, the Maison Kaiser is not doing well. That's normally a very busy coffee place. I was just noticing a couple places. Well, here's a shoe store that says closing, everything must go. I don't know if anybody needs shoes. Potbelly restaurant does not look open. You know what? They might have been further up the block, but pizza place, hamburger place. Man, de Blasio. He's got to refund the garbage, the sanitation department. They could get Marcus Conti picking that stuff up. He needs something to do. Well, yeah, it's a little windy and cold, and I think we've covered the topics we need to discuss for today. Everybody's going to keep their eyes on this Dominion voting systems, the Delian Project, Premier Election Solutions. And if people are able to find other companies that Dominion Voting has purchased that are in the same business, that definitely seems like a business where we don't want so much consolidation that something becomes a monopoly. That Premier Voting Systems, it started out as something from Diebold, which I feel like somebody's going to say somebody owns Diebold or whatever. And then again, all these stories come back to, Soros owns it. And now we're at a point where, Soros wants to do things to trap people in making that claim so that they can then say, okay, anytime anybody says that, it's a lie. That's what Mary Fanning was trying to do. She was trying to insert junk information with the good information so that the whole entire election fraud effort could be written off as fake news. Frankly, I think that's what the 17th letter of the alphabet was trying to do. Trying to inject fake nonsense into true efforts to get to the bottom of troubling things that people who watch mainstream news would dismiss as conspiracy theories. They want to corral people into these sandboxes, as David Hawkins would call them, and get everybody to rally around a hero of sorts, and then crush that hero. That seems to be a sort of standard move. So here's an entire row of closed stuff. Friendly looking husky. Well, I forget where this pizza place that I saw was, but the baby store doesn't want to get smashed. So that's going to be it for now, everybody. Thanks for watching. Let me go upstairs and make some soup or something, because it's cold. Do me a favor, if you like the show, make your way over to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and become a sponsor. You're going to enjoy sponsor-exclusive content. We've got 2 great new sponsor-exclusive shows coming up tomorrow. Got David Hawkins' Discovery CSI and John Cullen Investigates. Last week's John Cullen Investigates was amazing. Special guest, Dr. Judy Mikovits. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. Also check us out on band.video. And if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, go meet up with Owen Schroyer and the InfoWars caravan to stop the steal. Those guys are going to be arriving in D.C. at an amazing